So, people never want to think that something bad is going to happen to them. They always want to think that the bad thing is going to happen to somebody else. Like somebody else is going to roll the dice and get snake eyes and, lose all their dollars and get hurt and have the child with, a disability and all of the, it's always someone else. It's never them, right? And so, what is interesting is when you see people who are, I guess, for lack of a better term, normies, and you see them roll the shit dice, and you see them go through tragedy, and you see the people around them, like how they react to, and there's a lot of wow, why did this happen? As if there's some reason for anything, as if there's some justice, as if there's some just world out there, as if there's some cosmic plan, which of course a lot of them do believe there is a cosmic plan, a lot of them do believe there is God's plan, when actually it's basically just nonsense. There is no plan, there is no direction, there is no meaning or sort of symbolic value, right? Somebody gets hit with a tragedy, It's not because of who they are. It's not because of, how they live their life or actions that they take necessarily, And I mean, there are tragic things that can happen that are a result of your actions, but in general, getting hit by a drunk driver, that's not really something that you can control. That's just rolling snake eyes, rolling the shit dice, and that sucks a lot, right? So there are two cognitive distortions or two sort of cognitive biases that people have when it comes to this kind of thing. The first one is called optimism bias, and it's the idea that something bad is not going to happen to you, it's going to happen to the other person, right? So, I'm out here driving on the road as I'm making this video, and I'm thinking, a lot of people get hurt in car accidents, but it's not going to be me, I'm not going to be the one getting into a car accident as I'm, moving from point A to point B. That's optimism bias. It's, it's the idea that I know that, people sometimes have difficulties in childbirth, but other people's children are born with abnormalities, or other people's children are born, and I don't want to be prejudiced against people with disabilities or anything like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's just the idea that that does make the person's life harder, right? And it makes the parent's life harder. So everybody always thinks that, their child is going to be happy and healthy and well-adjusted and, a shining beacon of hope in the world. Nobody ever thinks that their kid is going to be the drug dealer or the person that gets involved in a scandal and ends up on the front page of the news, and it brings, disgrace to everyone. And they never think that their kid is going to be the one who, gets addicted to drugs or, whatever it is. They never think it's going to be their kid. It's always, peaches and cream for their kid. But other things, bad things happen to other people's kids. That's optimism bias. Now, the just world fallacy, that is the whole idea that it's actually pretty shocking. It's the idea that people basically deserve what happens to them because there's some kind of cosmic justice, there's some kind of weighing out of the scales. And this is associated with religious thinking, but even people that are either not religious or they're just sort of mildly culturally religious and they're just normies, they still have this just world delusion. And it's the idea that people can't handle empathizing with somebody who their child dies of cancer. They can't handle empathizing with them. And so what they do is they say, oh, and a lot of the time this isn't even like conscious. This is within themselves, or it's like you see shades of it in the things that they say in passing, or the way that they handle grief. So they'll say things, the thought in their mind will be, well, maybe their child died of cancer, but they must have done something bad to deserve that, because there is a cosmic justice, because it is part of God's plan, or maybe, this suffering will teach them some sort of lesson, right? But really what it is that they say like, oh, it must be sort of like retribution for something that they did, some kind of cosmic divine balance, and that way it makes it so that they don't have to empathize with that person, because it's too painful. It makes it so that they don't have to confront the fact that they could have their child get cancer, and that there's really nothing different about them between the person whose child gets cancer and the person whose child does not get cancer. So people just, they have these sorts of cognitive biases that like help them get through the day, that help them get through periods of grieving, that help them make sense of a world in which there really is no sense to be made. And part of the interesting thing about being, someone who's really trying to confront the truth, trying to find and confront the truth, is like you don't get the comfort of any of these biases or any of these delusions. People who are classified as depressed or whatever, they often there's the whole depressive realism thing, and it's just like a lot of these delusions are stripped away and you see life for what it is. And when you look at things without all of these sort of like comforting delusionary lenses and buffers and comforters, like that's when you realize like, wow, I'm not bringing someone here. How does it make any sense to disrupt the default perfect, pure, fine state of non-existence to bring someone here, to give them a nervous system that makes them capable of suffering, to expose them to the cruel randomness of fate and fortune? How does that make any sense? They're already fine. They've already made it. They already won the race. They already won the jackpot. They're already at the exact same place that you and I are going to be after we go through this whole shit show and after we go through the process of dying. They're already there, right? So why put them through this? It's absurd. There's this old proverb that you should let sleeping dogs lie. And you should, the proverb means if something's fine, if there's no problems in the situation, don't go mucking around in the situation, because you're likely to screw things up and you're likely to have unintended consequences. And I really like that proverb. I think it really fits the anti-natalist ideal. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, but I don't know, I was feeling that quite a bit today. So I will talk to you in the next one.